The state of emergency to come to an end. Minister Wayne Munro defends his professional experience, and tourism numbers are reportedly climbing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Friday, November 12th. In a few short hours, the state of emergency will be history. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Bahamas has been under a state of emergency. The orders have been replaced with legislations to manage the pandemic. Now, during a special briefing at the Office of the Prime Minister, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville addresses the ending of the state of emergency and the removal of the curfew.
Curfew is taking away someone's civil liberty. Lockdowns is taking away someone's civil liberties. And we felt after we supported the emergency orders or the proclamation for emergency that 18 months was too long. And we need to control and manage this pandemic via a legislative route rather than forming an emergency state. 18 months. And you talk about increasing it. It's not acceptable and certainly not viable in order for us to be able to move our economy and begin to get our kids back to school, to be able to get our tourism sector up and going in a safe way, and the list goes on and on.
Dr. Darville notes that officials are expecting individuals to be disciplined, asks what will happen if Bahamians aren't disciplined with the removal of the curfew. He says this.
I'm confident that we have come this far as a result of instituting quite a bit of new policies and testing it. And we feel confident that as we stand now, with the curfew being rolled back a few hours when we got into office, and we're seeing the numbers go down, it is obvious that Bahamians are executing the necessary public health protocols. And I feel confident that with the grace of God, we will continue in this trajectory. And at the end of the day, we will be able to get a lot back of what we lost as a result of what the pandemic has done to us this far.
Based on the numbers provided by the health officials, the country's COVID-19 numbers are the lowest it's been in months. However, the minister says that his ministry is preparing for a possible fourth wave.
We have been watching other countries, and we are confident that our responsibility as a government is to prepare our healthcare infrastructure for the possibility of what is to come. As Minister of Health and Wellness, I'm doing everything in my power to try to prepare our facilities for what is to come. And I'm reaching out to our partners. I'm actually looking in the private sector. We are looking for equipment. We are doing everything in our power to try to ensure to prepare us in the event, God forbid, we find ourselves in the position as some other countries, particularly in Europe.
There are more than 22,000 positive confirmed cases in country since the onset of the pandemic. National Security Minister Wayne Munro defending his role as the National Security Minister after critics lashed out over his comments on providing a sexual offenders register. Minister Munro says it would take an incredibly stupid person to think that he would not put in the necessary effort into the sex offenders registry, given his past as a criminal lawyer and representing sex offenders in the past. In fact, he insists that his expertise is just what the government needs.
The one thing that I could tell you is my experience permits me to know exactly how you can attack any piece of legislation. It permits me to be able to know what you have to do to ensure that legislation is bulletproof. We hire hackers to tell us how to safeguard our system from hacking. So this concept that somebody who has no clue whatsoever about how you attack a city can defend the city is just foolish. And I would simply call that an incredibly stupid person.
The minister, however, has gone on record questioning the efficacy, as New Providence, he says, is 21 by 7 miles, and he's not sure what value there is in knowing who's on the island. He added, though, that if it may prevent one offense, his ministry will follow through with the registry. He's also stressing that establishing the registry will not give anyone any comfort to let their guards down.
As Bahamians, when we travel to the U.S., we watch our children very closely, don't we? We do that because we don't feel safe letting them out of our sight in the U.S. We will let the public know exactly how safe these provisions can make them. We will not want anyone to let down their guard unnecessarily or unwarrantedly. And so parental responsibility will not be abrogated by the Sexual Offenders Register.
Minister Monroe was responding to critics that may think his past as a criminal lawyer would impede him from doing his job as National Security Minister. The government's reviewing emergency COVID-19 spending to find out how much of the public's funds the Minnis administration spent. This coming from Press Secretary Clint Watson yesterday at the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing.
Requires is us having our financial experts to go and look through and identify what was done under emergency spending, what was done as far as the food security program, and who those vendors are. And so we have engaged that already. We've spoken to the financial secretary, who has said that he has a team who will begin to look through to identify these amounts so we can get a handle on it.
While in opposition, Prime Minister Davis called for the then government to reveal the figures on many occasions. Mr. Watson adds that a full review is being done, according to the financial secretary, and a report will follow after that review is done. There is a major rift taking place in the Bahamas Association of Athletic Associations, with a number of members releasing a statement demanding a general meeting, where they plan to move a motion to remove the current 7-member B3A executive board led by President Jamico Archer. Speaking on behalf of close to 30 members of the B3A, Coach Ednal Roll says why the members are disgruntled and taking action.
We're exercising our constitutional right, and we want to ask this executive board to step down based on the fact that they've been operating unconstitutionally. Now, based on the Constitution, we would have sent a letter requesting a special general meeting for the purpose of this motion to remove them. The democratic process would be that we would present our case to them, they would explain themselves, and then the members can choose whether they agree for them to stay or to move based on their answers.
In their press statement, the group of members calling for the executives to resign say the executives have acted in violation of any number of rules in their constitution. With the B3A election scheduled for November 2022, the disgruntled members say it cannot be business as usual because the opportunities for the country and the athletes are too great to jeopardize because of failed leadership.
The election is next year in November, so we want to ensure that persons who are going to be coming in for the next election are persons who know the Constitution, who are competent, and will be able to, move us forward. We can no longer operate as we did back in the 70s. Times have changed now.
President Jamico Archer and his executive team are also being accused of making too many poor decisions and mistakes, like the debacle at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics over the women's 200-meter selection process. Attempts to reach Mr. Archer were not successful. In the meantime, many Bahamians love track and field, and we'll be following this story closely. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.